Well, good afternoon. This is Professor David Loertscher from the School of Library and Information Science, School of Information, San Jose State University in California. And I am just delighted today to have with us Michael Giller from the Governor's School in South Carolina. So Michael, introduce yourself and your school to us.
Sure. Hi. Thank you for having me. My name is Michael Giller. I'm the Director of Library Services at the South Carolina Governor's School for the Arts and Humanities in Greenville, South Carolina. And our school is a small school. We only have about 240 students, and that's maximum enrollment. We're a public arts high school that's also a boarding school. So we offer pre-professional arts training in one of 5 art areas to students: creative writing, dance, drama, music, and visual arts. Wow. And students audition from across the state to get in. There's really not much of an academic department other than a C average. And then once those students are accepted, they go to that department that they applied to and get 2 years of pre-professional arts training. We do take some 10th graders in dance and music, but very few. Mostly it's a 2-year program.
Right. And I understand you have quite the open hours of your library. Tell about that and how students get to you.
Sure. And as a boarding school, since students live here, this is their home. So we have extended hours. We're open from 8 in the morning until 10 p.m. during the school week, except for Fridays. We close at 5. And then we're open Sunday nights from 4 to 10 p.m. So as students kind of gear up for Monday morning, we're open again for them. We have a really good collection. We have a computer lab for them to use. And so all this is funded from the state of South Carolina. We're directly funded from the state, and that's who's paying for this. And we take students from across the state. So all the counties, every student has an opportunity to apply and get accepted and get really a world-class education for free. And that's really great for our state.
Absolutely. So tell us what kind of staff you have to do these extended hours.
Sure, we're kind of bare bones considering we're open about 72 hours a week. We have 2 full-time librarians, myself, Christina Fuller-Gregory is our Assistant Director of Library Services, and we have 3 part-time staff people that work kind of in 4 to 5 hour shifts throughout the day and evening to keep us open. And I say it's bare bones because if one person is out, one of us that's probably been here during the day is filling in again at night. And all of us here have worked many 12-hour, 14-hour days, and it can be exhausting. But the students live here; it's their home, and they need access to us as much as possible.
That's great. Do you have a technology staff also?
We do. We have an IT department. We're very fortunate. So we're a one-on-one school. Every student gets an iPad, and we have an IT department that kind of manages our computer lab and computers, so we're not tied up doing that. That kind of, I don't want to say burden, but that kind of issue as a librarian is taken off of us, and they kind of centrally manage that for everyone on campus.
Yeah. Tell us about the collection that you've built to support the arts.
Sure, and that's one of the things I think that makes our library unique. I mean, we have a lot of great services here. Everyone here that works in the library will do anything to help a student succeed, and that includes faculty and staff as well. We're a community here, and we're a very small community, but what I think over the years makes us valuable is the collection. We have an extensive print collection. We for a school of our size, let me give you some context of that one for 240 students, but it's within that collection for young artists looking for what they need. That's what makes us valuable. That's why they come in during the day and at night. You know, an example is we have over 2,000 plays for a drama department, probably less than 40 or 50 students. So our play collection rivals most small universities. They don't even have access to this oftentimes at the larger ones nearby, like Clemson or USC. So they get to their hometown often in the summer between junior and senior year. They often ask if they can come back in the summer. Can we mail them plays? Can we have access? Because even the public library doesn't carry that many plays. Things like our visual arts collection, some of it right next to me, it's probably one of our best print collections because even though we subscribe to databases like ArtStore for that will help in things like AP art history, visual artists still want to hold books in their hand. They want really high quality reproductions. And that covers all of those areas from architecture to sculpture to painting, to drawing, anatomy books, all these things. When it comes to art areas like creative writing, we have an extensive fiction collection. They teach short story writing, so we have a short story collection that's extensive. We also have things like essays and creative nonfiction, your authors like your David Sedaris types or Chuck Klosterman, things that will keep them engaged in reflecting on their own life and experiences and teach them in an interesting way how to present that material. So our music, we have a sheet music kind of library in the back. It's not that large, but we have every popular musical. We have a physical collection of over 10,000 CDs, but we find now students aren't using them. They stream everything. So now we've got this extensive collection of music that's really heavy in opera and Western classical, as well as jazz, pop, reggae, hip hop, all this that we now have to find a way to reinvent ourselves in that area of the collection. How can we make our music accessible? How do we stay relevant with music? So those are some of the challenges we face at times, but really it's the collection in general. When it comes to dance is the kind of art area that's challenging for a librarian like myself, because there's not a lot written in dance. You don't learn dance out of a book. You don't study it academically. It's taught by master teacher and apprentice, traditionally in the classical ballet and modern world. So how do we do that? We do that through an extensive video collection of Blu-rays. And then we also subscribe to things like Dance and Video by Alexander Street Press. So it gives them a different experience to visually see what they need to see in dance that you would never really get out of the printed word. So it's offering, when I think back and reflect why our students love this library, why do they like it? It has to be because we are offering something, because you can rebrand yourself a Learning Commons and throw in a sofa and an area rug, but it doesn't mean anything if there's not value there. They can go to the coffee shop and get Wi-Fi. They don't need that. How can we remain relevant to our community? And if you want funding for your school library, and we're very well funded, you better remain relevant. And that means to the teachers, to the administration, and to the students. And that's our challenge. That's why we have the extended hours. That's why we have the extensive collection. And it's not accidental. It's very deliberate what we're doing. And I think the students respond well to it. Yeah. So it's exciting. It's a fun place to work.
Well, let's talk about how you interact with the students and teachers to deliver this huge, wonderful resource to them academically and personally. How do you do that?
At the beginning of the year, we'll do it informally on our professional development days. Usually myself or the assistant director will jump up and say, come by the library for a tour. Or a lot of it, I'm a big believer in collaboration. That's something I'm very passionate about. I think to be successful in a school library, you have to collaborate, because as much as I can teach a lot of library skills in isolation or one-on-one, it's much more effective in a classroom setting or in a group setting. It's reinforced by the classroom teacher that these are important skills. And it's those kinds of things that we talk about in, let's say, in library education, but you have to put it into practice. And you do that by being, I hate to say it, I'm old school. I go to people when they're new. I shake their hand. I'm the librarian here. When you get settled in, let's meet. Let me show you the collection. Let me show you what your students use. How I have to know their curriculum to show why the things that I have are relevant to what they're teaching, and then it makes it easier. So it might be as informal as like, hey, I got this great new science book, and I send that to the biology teacher. You may be interested in this, just to let them know I'm thinking about them. Or it could be something as taking requests from teachers, fulfilling that request by ordering those materials and letting them know they're here, and then they see they have a partner in the curriculum and broader kind of school community as well. So it's very deliberate. You have to get out there and do it. So every opportunity we take, whether it's committee meetings or faculty meetings or professional development days. And one thing I'll say that's very, in this era of equity we live in, you have to be relevant to the entire community. So that includes the administration, that includes the staff that work here. Many of them are going back to school. What do I offer them in databases for test prep, things like that? So it's kind of keeping a pulse of your community, of where your community's at, and then trying to create resources they can access so that they'll find you valuable and want to come in. That's the goal. I don't want to sit here alone in the library. That would be depressing. You want to be thriving and active. So
there you go. So we want to reemphasize that the kids apply to get into this, so they could come from poverty schools, poverty areas in the state, or be very affluent, or what? Describe that just again.
Sure. And so, through our recruitment period, we have auditions set up throughout the state. Some students may have difficulties getting to an audition. Their family may not have a car. They may not be able to get to us. So we go to the 3 major locations across our state. And on our own campus, we have them as well. And they do a paper application, or really an online application. And then they have to go to the audition and present their material, either play an instrument or go to maybe a dance master class, or if you're a visual artist, maybe go to a drawing or a master class in that way. Because they look for teachability as well as talent. They'll take a diamond in the rough knowing that this student is capable of learning this material. Because, if you were, let's say, a really accomplished pianist at a young age, most likely you have a piano, you've had private lessons, that may vary greatly compared to a student that has taken one visual arts class in a small rural town in South Carolina that has not had opportunity or exposure to the arts. So all that is kind of considered. And so, when we look at what kind of exposure they've had in the past, what we can do with them as far as bring them along in their arts education, all that's relevant and taken into account. So yeah, it's from some of the most affluent to some of the most impoverished. And that's why living here is so important, because here they get the structure, they get housing, they get reliable food, they have a structured schedule. So by lifting that burden of what their home life may be, no matter how happy or unhappy it may be, it creates that level playing field and allows students to just relax, being kind of consumed and entrenched in the arts, and it just creates a much more positive environment. And by the second semester, they're here. This is their home. They don't want to. They're like, I want to go home when they're at home there, and this becomes their home. They're like, home is back at Governor School, where all my friends live. So that's really the goal, is to create a community like that that allows them just to be young artists and explore their passions in that way. So it's fun. Yeah.
So what's the bottom line of this world-class education and its role in our society as a whole?
I mean, wait, say that again. Would you ask me what the role was or the goal was?
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
What is the bottom line of this whole idea of a world-class education in our society?
So here's the bottom line. If you put funding into arts education, because arts education is so underfunded, if you believe in the arts and you fund it well and you staff it well, you will create a new generation of successful artists. The arts are relevant. And I don't think it's things like until the pandemic that we realized how much we relied on the arts, how much TV we watched, how much music, how much we desired that socializing through creative outlets. Because when all that's stripped away, we find our lives being much more empty, a little more shallow, because it's not being enriched by things that can stimulate our passions. And so in South Carolina, we're often not ranked very high in education, but we are the little engine that could. This school is small, but if you put resources into arts education, we have had Tony winners come out of the school, like Patina Miller, right? I remember when they were students here. So it goes to show you we can create world-class artists if resources are there. And the library is a part of that. We're a well-funded library. There's a lot of expected out of our library. The flip side of that funding and that resource we're given is that there's a high expectation. I don't close my door at 4 o'clock and say, sorry, I'm doing inventory this week. We help them whatever they need, and that's why we're here. Our role is to make them supported, and through that support, we become more valuable in our community. And I really just want to say, if you fund arts education, it will come back to your state, to your community, and enrich it in ways that money never can. That's all. So yeah. And I love that this is in South Carolina, because people think it's Portland, Oregon, or it's San Francisco, or it's Philadelphia. No, it's right here in Greenville.
Right.
Great. Yeah.
Well, you're a class act, Michael, and I just want to thank you so very much for the students and for the state that you're working in. And so thank you. And I wish you success in continuing exactly what you're doing and staying relevant as you move along. So thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.